Day 34. Let's begin. wore a suit and tie. He hopped into a blue Plymouth coupe, and the car sped through Harlem, crossed the new Triborough Bridge, past the glittering World's Fairgrounds. Sollard was headed for a small cottage on Long Island to visit a friend. His driver that one was Fred Teller. The name was Albert Einstein. Wow. And this was Sollard's second visit to Einstein's cottage in 3 weeks. Sollard had studied with Einstein in Berlin in the 1920s, and their research had produced more than 30 joint patents for a refrigerator pump with 4 moving parts. The two friends had met, but rarely since Sollard moved from England to America more than a year before. That's strange. Why? During the first call at the cottage, the 41-year-old Sollard had stunned his 60-year mentor by describing the concept of a nuclear chain reaction. Sollard had conceived of this in London in 1933, but had tested the idea using uranium in Columbia only in the spring and summer of 1939. I haven't thought of that at all, Einstein had replied, seeing at last a mechanism and a natural element that gave his 1905 equation for E equals mc squared, a new and terrifying reality. At his visit, Sollard and Einstein agreed to warn the Belgian royal family, personal friends of Einstein's, whom he called the Kings, that Nazi Germany coveted the world's largest uranium supply in the Belgian Congo. In the days between those visits, however, Sollard had decided that U.S. officials should also be warned about German intentions, and through friends he had met Alexander Sachs, a Wall Street banker claiming easy access to finance. So, in the white shingled cottage near Connick Bay that sultry August day, Einstein, wearing an old robe and slippers, and Sollard, now down to short sleeve and tie, hunched over the dining room, sipped iced tea and wondered how to tell an American president about something that might change the world forever. We did not know just how many words one could put in a letter which a president is supposed to read. Sollard recalled later. That afternoon, Einstein dictated in German a brief preliminary draft, leaving Sollard to write both a long and a short letter to Franklin Roosevelt. Some was read by E. Freeman and L. Sollard. Einstein's now famous letter began. Leads me to expect that the element uranium may be turned into a new and important source of energy in the immediate future. He went on to explain how physicist Enrico Fermi and Sollard had just demonstrated that a nuclear chain reaction could probably occur. This new phenomenon would also lead to the construction of bombs. It is conceivable, though much less certain, that extremely powerful bomb of a new type may thus be constructed. A single bomb of this type carried by boat and exploded in a port might very well destroy the whole port together with some of the surrounding territory. Einstein's letter ultimately led to the federal government's top-secret Manhattan Project to design and build atomic reactors and atomic bombs. That letter was written Einstein and Fermi, were both acclaimed Nobel laureates in physics, while L. Sollard was unknown outside a small circle of physicists. He remains a shadowy historical figure today, though he did the most among scientists of his generation to help forestall and create and then control the atom bomb. Indeed, Sollard personifies nuclear era and its faithful consequences as no individual can. He successfully forestalled a nuclear arms race with Hitler by having the British spring, yet by the spring of 1945, when Germany all but defeated and its race with the A-bomb lost, Szilard began efforts to forestall another nuclear arms race, this time with Russia. He drafted a third Einstein thru, which failed to reach the president before his death. Then, with Truman in the White House, Szilard led two other initiatives. The atomic scientists' unsuccessful petition to the president to prevent the atomic bombing of Japanese cities, and their successful lobbying of Congress to shift post-war control of the atom from military to civilian hands. Smart's many efforts to create powerful uses for the atom are also lost in the shadows of modern history. A few weeks after the first Fermi-Szilard nuclear reactor surged to life in a squash court at the University of Chicago in December 1942, Szilard, then chief physicist at the Manhattan Project's secret metallurgical laboratory, proposed, named, and designed the breeder reactor, an atomic power plant that makes more fuel than it consumes. The breeder's wartime mission was to make plutonium for bombs. In peacetime, it would generate electricity and fresh fuel for other nuclear power plants. Yet the first commercial breeder, when built near Detroit in the 1960s, was named for Fermi. After serving as Szilard's chauffeur, chauffeur. Oh my god, I know this word. Why can't I pronounce it? Chauffeur. Right, there's no pronunciation. Chauffeur. In 1939, Edward Teller worked as his agent in Washington, tracking federal decisions once Roosevelt had acted on Einstein's letter. Teller also joined Szilard in early meetings of the president in the government's advisory committee on uranium and in search for the Manhattan Project. But by 1945, with the race against Germany won, the two split over the need for arms control. In later years, they disagreed bitterly about nuclear policy, yet still remained personal friends. From the war's end until his death in 1964, Szilard worked tirelessly to control the A-bomb he had helped create. He proposed or helped to found publications and institutions that today still influence science and politics. One is the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, a monthly magazine first published at Chicago's Metallurgical Laboratory in 1945. Another is the Council for a Livable World, the first political action committee for arms control, which he founded in Washington in 1962. Today the Council leads and coordinates a network of groups working for demilitarization, and peace. In each election year, it raises more than $1 million for congressional candidates. Slide's efforts were personal, clever, at times outrageous, usually made behind the scenes. Justice Department officials threatened to jail Szilard, by now a United States citizen, in 1947 for writing a letter to Stalin that called for radio broadcasts by US and Soviet leaders to each other's countries, an idea finally realized by Presidents Reagan and Gorbachev in 1988. Szilard succeeded more promptly when, at a private meeting with Nikita Khrushchev in 1960, he gained the Soviet premier's personal assent to a Kremlin White House hotline that opened 3 years later. Szilard is remembered by friends and colleagues for his wry and puckish humor, a twinkle in his eye as he deflated pompous egos or described playful and sometimes even practical scientific or political inventions. They remember with glee Szylard's tongue-in-cheek explanation for Grand Central Terminal's pay toilets, published in a 1961 collection of his satires called The Voice of the Dolphins, or his proposal that the National Science Foundation pay second-rate scientists not to conduct research and not to publish articles. To microbiologist Francois Jacob, Szilard was an intellectual bumblebee, cross-pollinating ideas and institutions with his unconventional wisdom. One Szilard idea earned Jacob and his French colleagues a Nobel Prize. Another idea, a research center combining science and human affairs, became the Salk Institute for Biological Studies in La Jolla, California, where Szilard spent his last days. Yet, for many reasons, among them his own maverick personality, Szylard's story could not be told until now. Since childhood, Szilard enjoyed being different and independent, unbound by common ideas and conventions. In later life, this independence led to Szylard's being overlooked by the Manhattan Project's official history, in part because of his many policy disputes with its headstrong director, General Leslie Groves. Szilard was for years a forgotten man. Documents about his physics research and political activities remained military secrets for decades, and after his death, his personal papers and letters were sheltered from would-be biographers by his widow, although she worked to publish his scientific and professional papers. It was not until It was not until 1983, 2 years after Gertrude Weiss Szylard's death that I began work on a biography All papers became available through her brother, Egon Weiss. Still, the papers were in chaos. Szilard lived most of his life in hostels, in hotels, and stashed his files in suitcases, which he left with friends and relatives around the world. Until recently, the Szilard papers were organized by the color of the bag, in which each document was found, and reorganization by subject was not completed until I finished writing this book. Of late 1987, analyzed we discovered more than 350 personal letters to truth by Szilard, and these were translated for use in this volume. Szylard's widow, Phil's students and writers are another vital source. Leo Szylard's youngest brother, Bella Szilard. Fortunately, Bella and I met through his son, was one of the most intelligent people I have ever known. His mind moved quickly and profound. He was able to come to ideas that most of us appreciated only after many hours of talk. This was his strength and of course also his weakness. He was always ahead of his time. His ideas often were expressed in paradoxes, and the paradoxes were not always understood. Both Solar's candor and his cockiness made him a ready target of federal agents who shadowed his actions for years without results. Solar's FBI files are intense, both painful and hilarious to read. Solar irked his Manhattan Project supervisors by both criticizing and ignoring some measures imposed to maintain secrecy and by complaining to congressional committees and the press after the war that the Army's compartmentalization of the scientists' work had delayed America's first atomic bomb by more than a year. Ah. After World War II, Solar promoted sharing U.S. top secrets with Russia in order to bring about international arms control agreements. Hardly a popular idea at the time, he threw the cold, and he predicted accurately the time needed by Russia to catch up with the U.S. nuclear developments. Fearlessly, he mocked anti-communist paranoia on university campuses, and in his lifetime, Solar publicly criticized every U.S. president since Truman for escalating of nuclear arms race. Now more than half a century after Solar's meeting with Einstein that started America's nuclear age, and more than a quarter century after Solar's death, many of his insights and ideas have been adopted by his successors. So too have his efforts to lessen U.S.-Soviet tensions. And to share technology in the pursuit of peace. During the 1940s and 1950s, Solar devised novel schemes to verify nuclear arms control agreements, including the kinds of on-site inspections begun only in 1988. Solar's many attempts at citizen diplomacy began weeks after the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, pioneering a technique that enjoys enthusiastic acceptance today. Yet, during and after his lifetime, Leo Solar remained elusive and is now largely a forgotten man, a genius in the shadows of what he helped create. With an umbrella swinging from his V-neck sweater, so as to keep a hand free for his leather belt. Leo Solar strode out to a cloudy fall morning in 1910 for the excursion he had planned. Leo sported a brown felt hat, flat-brimmed, flat-topped, and uncommonly formal, yet stylish for a 12-year-old. Most teenage boys in Budapest wore cloth caps, like the one that 10-year-old Bella tugged down against the breeze, but not Leo, whose headpiece made him feel both dressed up and different. Yet, while daring in his dress, Leo was still cautious in his demeanor. He had that umbrella just in case. The stroll was the two boys' first without a parent or governess, and Leo had a special destination in mind. At the wrought iron front gate to the yard, the Solar boys left behind their family's towering stucco and timber Art Nouveau villa and turned right onto the reservoir, a broad alley, a broad alleyway, linking Budapest's cafe and shopping district with the lush and spacious city park. Under 6 rows of horse chestnut trees, the facade was divided into 5 pathways, a roadway down the center, a roadway down, a roadway down the center for cars, trucks, and horse-drawn carriages. 2 shaded pedestrian lanes end along the sidewalk. The tracks for small electric trolleys. Budapest's traffic clanked and rattled along on the left lane, as it would until the occupied German army ordered a change to right-hand drive in 1941. On the long block, on the long block from their villa to the park, the Szilard boys the chorus, walked past the chorus mansions owned by down-at-the-heel Austro-Hungarian aristocrats and wealthy Jewish merchants. Mansions set in green plots that gave this neighborhood the name Garden District. In the park, they followed shaded footpaths that rambled along manicured flower beds. They passed a restaurant beside a lake, and in the water saw the spires of a castle built in ancient Transylvanian style, but actually finished in 1896 for Hungary's millennial celebration. Beyond the Gallery of Fine Arts, the boys crossed the footbridge over the city's new subway line. The first on the European continent, then strolled by another boating lake and the elegant new gondolas restaurant toward the Budapest Zoo. At the Turkish-style entrance gate, an ark hoisted on the backs of 4-head-high stone elephants, surmounted by a ring of crouching bears. Leo bought tickets, and once inside, the boys rushed to a mosque-like brick structure that was home for the elephants and the hippos. Several elephants stood in the open yard, begging across a road for nuts and children. Nearby, Dude, I'm hungry. What should I eat for dinner? Starving, actually. I might get Chinese food. The more the horizon of what being really good is, the more it recedes. Wait, what? Probably the more experience you have with it, the more the horizon of what being, the more the horizon of what being really good is, the more it recedes. Yeah, so it recedes like, so like an island. Here, let me show you. Let me share a quote. Like any art, probably the more experience you have with it, the more the horizon of what being really good is, the more it recedes. Yeah, so pretend your definition of like your character, what really good music is. It's like an island, and now it's the size of a box. That's very small, right? Compared to an entire island, a landmass. This is why, I mean, I'm this is definitely, I'm being I'm being a prick here, but this is why, like, the more in my opinion, the more albums you listen to, the more kinds of music that you're exposed to, you recognize what is good. You recognize what is considered to be expressively good. You know, I don't want to go. There's no reason to go into the subjectivity, because in like a certain genre, a state of excellency certainly exists. And if you do a lot of listening, you'll get to pick up just what special qualities that they may have. You may not agree, or you may not be particularly fond of a certain cherished artist, but that sense shouldn't stop an individual from appreciating what makes that artist specifically special for the general audience. You know, a lot of one particular artist that gets that love, but at the same time really doesn't. For many people, you know, people may not like, for example, the Beatles, or modern day maybe Radiohead. I have friends who disliked Radiohead. Notice the past tense, right? So they disliked them because even if they just thought they were overrated, they thought they just they didn't deserve that praise, that being put on the pedestal of modern rock music. And he did a lot of listens. He listened to a lot of albums, and he began to quote unquote see what was attractive, what factor was attractive to people that liked Radiohead, and he respected it. He he likes and respects Radiohead, definitely much more than before. But at the same time, he learned how to appreciate what a lot of people love, a lot of people fondly think of. Now, I think that's super important. There's a big difference, though, in my opinion. If you listen to a lot of music, you start to see that. You really do. When I, it's the same thing as like people who, you know, it's just, I think it's, to put it in a very crude way, description. It's the same way where people, when professional, let's say gamers, professional sports players, they literally just eat, they sleep, and they practice. And it's not just like a 3-4 hour reading or 3-4 hour um, it's not like that. Sometimes I know sports players, they literally spend 12 hours practicing. Workouts, routines, workouts, everything is included in that hour of practice. But 12 hours every day. Every day. Maybe they have the weekends off. Maybe only Sundays off. But they do that every day for like years, decades even. Can you imagine that? Like very recently, I went on this journey of like listening to a lot of albums in like a given few months that I had. And it's very different how I like. Actually, I don't have time. I'm just gonna. I have to go to the bathroom anyways. All right, let's end it here. All right, that concludes 34. I'll see you guys on day 35. Bye.